publicly traded gaming companies are having to backtrack on their statements.
Yes.
We've got, of course, Team 17 with their NFTs, which is very funny. And then we've got Andrew Wilson's pretty speedy sort of turn of opinion.
God, Andrew Wilson really doesn't mean anything he says anymore, does he?
Can you believe a CEO is completely meaning everything they say in an investor call? Gee. Right, so Team 17, you'll know them from Worms, but they, they do so much more. They're a publicly traded company, which has had its pros and its cons. I mean, certainly their access to capitals went up, but their Glassdoor ratings have went down. Uh-oh. So that's what's been going on with Team 17. They recently announced they're moving into NFTs with MetaWorms. Yes. MetaWorms, what we all asked for, which, so it's a unique generative artwork intended to encompass content from the 26-year history of the beloved Worms franchise. Just like how, of course, we were recently able to celebrate how much we all like Castlevania by, looking at some people buy some NFTs for that. I mean, it was a great way to celebrate the brand. We were actually, me and Matt were both, just drinking, just fucking naked on the roof, screaming, losing our minds because of these NFTs. And what a great celebration of the 35-year-old brand they were, and how excited we were for these NFTs.
Yeah, I mean...
So cool. So cool.
Yeah, there's nothing to me that screams, let's celebrate the content from across the however many year history of the franchise by generative artworks. Don't you love generating? Yay. Remember this thing you liked? What if we procedurally generate things and call it unique? You're like, yeah, well, yeah, you get into the, you get into the argument of, I've just made unique artwork by, kicking over a tin of paint. Fantastic.
Yeah, so look, the way they pitched them were they were high quality and low energy consuming, obviously trying to skirt the usual NFT sort of environment concerns, which, here's the thing. It's a little bit like, there's just been a few times where... it's like, I'm kind of with a whole bunch of people and not liking a thing, but then I get kind of frustrated by the lack of precision that sometimes not liking a thing can create.
Yeah.
And the environmental side, for a lot of these things, like the ones running in Tezos, on the proof of stake chains, what people don't get is like, if you have a problem with the environmental impact of these NFTs, you should stop using Netflix. Yeah. You should stop using Amazon Prime. You should stop doing any of those things because... you're actually having pretty comparable energy expenditures when you actually get into it. Now, the people who are talking about the NFTs that are like, running on Ethereum, that is different, and there absolutely is there are concerns there about the transaction, the cost of minting for, environment, energy, all of that. So, the environmental concerns are very well founded, but we also need to be able to, talk about these things with specificity. Continually I see people... who kind of should know better, sort of inaccurately pushing that line.
Yeah, just hit NFTs with a bat, like.
Yeah, which, there's a bit of me that's like all for doing that.
100%.
But, like, these low energy consuming NFTs, like for a lot of them, you're dealing with like a few minutes of streaming video.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair, but I think for people who will, think of that and go, well, that is lower, but also... at least for a few minutes of streaming, you're like, well, I can see the value in that. Whereas people struggle to see a value here. Like, well,
true.
True.
But I think it is a relevant point. I think it's the thing where if the environmental concerns go away, there are still significant concerns.
Oh yeah. That's one of the big problems.
So that's what's going on there. Now, why they're doing this? Oh, obviously it's the opportunity to give fans a unique piece of video game memorabilia that you can view in your MetaMask wallet.
Deadly.
Like, look at this. I have it. Yeah. Here's the JPEG it's attached to.
Yeah. So if you want,
wow.
If you wanted to give fans the chance to own a unique piece of video game memorabilia, you would sell a unique piece of video game memorabilia and not a random picture.
Well, that would involve having to make a unique piece of video game memorabilia.
And obviously, you think about how business works, and that would incur risk and also, a profit issue of,
yeah.
Well, that's going to have costs. Oh dear.
So it's kind of weird, and like they're not even So you know the Bored Ape Yacht Club, or
Yes.
whatever it's called.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Unfortunately.
You know, some of the point of that is owning the NFT.
Yeah.
But what it actually is a club with a limited quantity of members, where, you know, there is, I suppose, a cryptographic element to how there are only like 10,000 or whatever. So a part of it is like get into the exclusive club. You could say that that is the value that comes with getting a stupid ape picture that is honestly a bit horrendous looking. Whereas with this, it's just like, yeah, we just hit the generate button a few times. There you fucking go. Whatever, give us some money.
Yep.
We need our stock to go up now that we're publicly traded. It all must go fast. So, yeah, you know, it's lame. Now, as for the community reaction, it was fairly obvious. So several of their indie partners released statements condemning this sort of thing. So AgroCrab, Platonic Games, you know, all doing their statements. SMG, they also did a statement. Nevgante? Nave? Whoever they are, more power to them. They also did a statement. Ghost Town Games for the Overcooked people.
Yep.
And I mean, certainly I know a lot more that haven't made posts are very, very unhappy about this.
Yep. No, I think
which meant that Team 17 cancelled their friggin' stupid plan. What a bunch of morons. Which, I mean, is kind of rough. I mean, hey, I don't think we're ever making the sort of game that Team 17 would want to publish anyway.
No. Again, I guess, you know.
But, man, can you imagine being so thick that
Isn't it?
this is when you decided to do this? And it's really weird because, like, I know their CEO, like, people say that she's pretty dead on, really smart, like, very capable person in the industry. And it's just that thing. And I imagine recently I had the Andrew Wilson rant. I'm sure Andrew Wilson's not actually stupid.
Not at all.
He almost certainly is running EA for some good reason somewhere, even though when we look at EA's output, we sometimes struggle to really see why. So it's one of those things where it's just utterly baffling. Unless it's one of those things where it's like the CEO didn't have much to do with this, just greenlit a plan because, you know, there's a pressure to make the stock go up. And this is what the investors want to see. But it's utterly baffling. So we see this statement. They have ended the MetaWorms NFT project. We have listened to our Teamsters. It's a bit like how when Starbucks call their people partners. And you're like,
yes.
Is this really a partner relationship?
No.
We've listened to our Teamsters, development partners, our game communities, and the concerns they've expressed, and therefore have taken the decision to step back from the NFT space. Yeah, but you bloody morons, you knew all of this would happen, didn't you? Like, how on earth did you hit the live button on this and think it was not going to end up this way?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope they put more care and attention into publishing and marketing their games than they do this, because, you know, they just the speed of just invest in this free money. Okay, this can't possibly go wrong. Market research. What's that?
It's weird because they used to be pretty decently respected, and then, you know, they go public. Their Glassdoor starts to tank. They start doing NFTs. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you trying to like gut your soul out? What's up?
I mean, you know, if you know, hypothetically, I were an incredibly cynical person, I would suggest that maybe the process of going public is what did that. You know, quite
what
honestly.
a surprise! Which is odd because, like, from all that I understood, they were a really healthy company. They really shouldn't have needed to do any of this money grab bullshit. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When what do you go public for? To get a whole bunch of money to do cool stuff, and then it goes wrong.
But you know, what have they accomplished? Well, they've nuked their reputation.
Good job.
Which is, you know, pretty rough if you're one of the UK's largest publishers.
Yeah.
You know, we were just looking around as a part of this story. We noticed their Glassdoor ratings had tanked. Very interesting things in those Glassdoor ratings. So yeah, it's just wild, stupid. What are you doing, Team 17? Come on. Like, we all used to respect you pretty well. You had a pretty good rep in the games industry. Why are you just randomly doing shit like this?
Yeah.
You're come on, relationships, respect, they're everything in a small industry.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah, at least there is obviously the silver lining, which is developers now know that they actually have weight for what their publishers do, and there's not a purely one-way relationship. Obviously, you know, it's not a pure one-way relationship when you're actually working in there. Obviously, publishing developers have, like, you know, back and forth all the time. But in terms of public stuff, it's now just like, oh, so if publisher does something, because we have separate identities and separate brands as, independent developers and games, we've got names of our own, like the Overcooked people, Ghost Town having a name. They're like, well, that name carries weight. So we can actually represent ourselves and our players better in the public space.
Yeah.
As opposed to being overwritten by like the big publisher saying what they want to. And, the fact that this happens in indies is a case of, is this going to have, actually another example of this is Raven. Where imagine a world where Raven Software weren't called Raven Software, but they were called Activision Blizzard Unit 47 or whatever else.
Yeah.
Would the story of Raven QA unionizing have hit as hard? Because it would have been Activision QA. Oh, well, it's only a small part of Activision. It's a little bit less. But that individual name and individual thing carries weight. And now if publishers act up, developers have precedent to go, no, sit the fuck down, listen to us. And if you're not going to do that internally, we can exert that weight publicly, which is where, public companies are going to have, their stakes are going to be in the public eye. So this is embarrassing for Team 17. They're not likely to do anything really stupid anymore.
Yeah.
Without consulting their devs, who, in this case, definitely knew better.
Yeah, but they're large. I think they're too large for that sort of direct thing to happen. Like, I'm very glad. I know that NFT stuff is like the last thing our publisher would do.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
knowing our publisher, talking to the people there, the world would be completely turned upside down for Fellow Traveler to start doing NFTs.
Yeah, for sure.
And if they did, just like knowing the other devs that are sort of in their slate, I have a feeling everyone would be like, no, we're telling you not to. But that's the nice thing. I know they never would.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. They seem to have integrity, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. I used to love worms back in the day. Even the 3D worms. I used to turn on the mode where the water level would keep on going up.
Oh, yeah.
As you played. So it would always turn into this like really fun survival game. Worms. Anyway, Electronic Arts also have distanced themselves. Now, of course, Andrew Wilson in November 2021, before everyone got clowned on for NFTs, he thought that collectible NFTs were an important part of the future of our industry. He told investors, players want more modalities to play inside the game, which go beyond just straight 11-on-11 football. They want more digital experiences outside of the game, esports, NFTs, broader sports consumption, and they want us to move really, really quickly. Now, there is a pretty strong kernel of truth to what Wilson's saying there. You know the way that there's playing League of Legends, but then there's also watching Arcane, liking the music videos, that like broader thing that surrounds Runeterra? That's what people want. In the same way that football people, maybe they collected football cards as a kid. They go to the match, but football's also something that happens in the pub. It's like, it's the whole thing, a whole life thing. Deep user investment. So obviously that's what he's talking about. And given specifically FIFA, given that FIFA Ultimate Team, the, evil cash extraction system that they've developed that is based off football cards that people were used to buying as kids, you could obviously see NFTs be, done there.
Yeah, you can literally layer them on top and go, oh yeah, well that's a really special card. Now you can own that card with a special color. Have fun.
And they already have transfers and stuff, for your Ultimate Team players, because obviously that's like modeling, like the transfer season in football. They could obviously do that with NFTs and collect a bit of a cut. I have to imagine that would be regulatorily iffy in some places, though.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I certainly would hope so. I mean, because if you ever were getting NFTs via foot packs, you could pretty much say that's straight up gambling because of an ability to cash out, because like the ownership side of the NFTs. Anyway, he then tempered his own excitement by saying that EA's NFTs, their ideas were really, really early, but they came with a lot of hype.
Oh, hype,
and
I love that.
He warned investors it's kind of early to figure out what's going to work. Fast forward to the recent earnings call, though, and he basically said, the way I look at it is collectability is really based on 4 key metrics. High-quality content, scarcity, proof of authenticity, and around a group of people who find value in that content. I think he's completely correct there.
Yep,
that is how collecting things works.
Indeed.
So that's definitely true. You can obviously see how NFTs map onto that. It's just a sort of cryptographical solution to a few of those things that he outlined. So that's maybe what they were thinking, but he did say whether that's part of NFTs and the blockchain, well, that remains to be seen. And I think the way we can think about it is we want to deliver the best possible player experience we can. And so we'll evaluate over time, but right now it's not something we're driving hard against. So basically EA decided to back off a little bit. I think for a lot of players, look, you can get almost all of the things with an NFT without the blockchain bit. I mean, in TF2, you could have a named weapon that would have, maybe it would have a kill counter or something, and you could trade that to another player, and it would still be that weapon. Yeah. Why do we need the blockchain bit? I guess it's like if you're going to be, oh no, but this is cryptographically very unique.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, what does that matter to the player experience?
Well, it's two things, I think, really. One is it's part of the whole metaverse idea play.
Oh, yes.
Which is inextricably connected, where it's like, oh no, we need a shared database. We need the blockchain. We need this digital ledger. So whenever you have a football player that's unique to you in FIFA, you can play it in all the other competitive football games.
Oh, yes.
There are none left.
I can use my special shiny Ronaldo away shirt in Battlefield 2042.
Well,
brilliant.
See,
I'm on board.
See, that's a terrible example because that doesn't need the blockchain because that's another EA game.
Yeah.
So, this would be the case of you would have your Ronaldo away shirt that's unique to you that you spent $10,000 on, but it would be in Call of Duty. And everyone in the industry immediately, whenever that idea was being floated, everyone's like, if you think this is true, you are either, very uninformed, which is fair enough if you don't really understand the intricacies of game development, or if you're in the industry and still say that, you're a fucking idiot. Because that's not how it works, and it's not how it's ever going to work. Wise up. That's the one thing. The other thing is just, it's the NFTs. Cool. They're new. Class. Yeah. Oh, how can we make money of this new trend? This new wonderful idea. I think that's basically the point of it. And everyone's been able to, tell them to piss off.
Yeah.
And so far, it's working. We, players and developers on our side as well, are solving the problem.
It's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah. It's like, hello, this is really stupid. And people are going, okay, well, that money-making scheme has been called stupid publicly enough that we can't really do it anymore. Damn. Unless, of course, you're Ubisoft or Ubisoft and Konami. And you're like, imagine being a publisher and go, okay, well, who's running with the NFTs? Ubisoft and Konami. Who's not? I don't think we'll do that. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah? Well, so look, there you go. Actually, it's one of those situations where the people and the developers can band together and win.
Yep.
So it's good to see it happen, and that's basically the core takeaway of the video. If you're not particularly happy about something, voice your concerns, and if enough people agree, some change may indeed happen.
Absolutely. There is actually one last little thing, and I forgot to include it in the doc, but Nintendo, obviously Nintendo are off in their own corner of the world doing whatever the hell they want. But they had a very refreshing take that was misunderstood, but then we got to the truth of it in the end. They talked a little bit about the future in NFTs and Metaverse in their earnings call. There's a misquote that people assumed they were talking about NFTs and talking about how, NFTs are, we can see the utility in them. But almost exactly what Andrew Wilson ended up saying. We're like, yeah, this is interesting, but we don't know how it's going to impact the player experience. They said, they don't know how to bring the Nintendo specific, joy to it. Yeah. If they could solve that, they might do them. It turns out they were talking about the metaverse and not NFTs, but similar principles where, it's interesting that we get this case where we look at the old-fashioned outsider who's just sitting doing their own thing. Who's like, I'm just going to make games that are good for players. And that, is really, left them behind in so many ways. Yeah. But at the same time, they're like, yeah, is this fun? No, we don't care. They're like, oh, thank God someone said it.
Absolutely.
That's how I felt anyway.
So look, it's an iffy situation, but it is good news. And I think on that, time to end. So thank you for watching. Check out the video yesterday or whatever appears in this nice box. It'll appear around at some point. And with that, goodbye.